Good morning, welcome back to Harkins Haven. I'm Brian, and we're so glad that you're here. Today what we're going to be doing is making some updates to our chicken tractors. As you can see, we have two of them. The one that we built most recently is that one, which you've probably already have seen our video of, and we love them both. They're based on the Polyface chicken tractor design. And as you can see, one of the more obvious tweaks or changes that we made in the process of building them was the vinyl corrugated roofing as opposed to the aluminum. Really, that's the only reason that we ended up doing that was because we couldn't find any aluminum roofing. And we haven't had any issues with the vinyl corrugated. So yeah, we love them. They're great. Our only major pain point that we have is when you are gathering the chickens out of the chicken tractors when it comes time for butchering them. You will reach a point to where you've gotten about half of them out, and then the rest of them will go and hide under the back. And in order to catch them, you have to either do a couple things. You have to literally go in after them. So you're going in on top of the chicken poop, which is not desirable, but still it's a possible option that you can do. Or you can do what I've done here. As you can see, on both of them, I have removed some or all of the rear roofing sheets to get at the chickens. What we're going to do today is we're going to modify and build some rear roofing sections, much like the front roofing sections here, so that they are a little bit more removable and will allow us to still make use of providing the chickens shade, and at the same time being able to get at the chickens when it's time to collect them. Let's get started.
So the first step that Brian did is to take apart this roof. So when you watched us build this roof, we built it out of 1x6 material, which is what the Polyface Design book recommends. Now remember, they are trying to support an aluminum roof, so that makes their roof a little heavier. They are also, to put it mildly, a bunch of stronger farmer people who do this for a living. Brian and I are not, especially me when I'm trying to carry the baby with me or whatever. So this roof is really, really heavy. So what we're going to do is similar to what we did on our first chicken tractor, is he's just gonna rip the 1x6s into 1x2s and remake this frame. I think he puts one down the middle, which also helps to just reinforce, because we have a seam down the middle that the original Polyface design doesn't take into account. And that just helps reinforce this roof and make it a lot lighter and easier to deal with, to lift with one hand while you're trying to do chicken chores. Again, we did this same concept on our first chicken tractor, and that roof has held up just fine all through last summer. And that's what gave us the idea for this one. We wanted to build this one to design to see if we liked it better, and we don't. So we're going to change it. But that's also what gave us the idea for how to fix the back. So here Brian's just going to rip down the wood that we already had, just so we can reuse the wood and not cut new stuff. And then we're going to move on to the back of the chicken tractor. So this modification uses the same dimensions and same design. They're just smaller pieces of wood. So Brian is just putting a screw in each of the four corners to make a box, and then he's going to duplicate everything 3 times. So you have one for the front half and then 2 for the back half, which just allows each of those roofs to be removable so that you can get to the chickens. Because like Brian said, without actually lifting this whole thing off the chickens, the only way to get to the chickens in the back is to crawl underneath this 2-foot tall roof in the middle of where the chickens have been all night, which is disgusting, and nobody wants to do that. I'm not sure how other people do this with their chicken tractors, but you could just lift the entire chicken tractor up as long as your chickens were contained in a fence or something. But that is really heavy, and Brian and I have trouble lifting it that high. So this is just to make it much easier and simpler for us to do everything by ourselves. This middle brace piece is so that we can attach the roofing to, because like I said, the original aluminum roofing is 4 feet wide in the original design, and ours is only 26 inches, which is just over 2 feet wide. So this brace piece, not only does it brace the extra because it's a little bit flimsier because of the smaller wood, it also allows us to screw the roofing into this middle piece so that it's not flapping around as much. And then like I said, you see Brian has made everything 3 times. This little scrap piece is just to give something to screw the roof down into. So he's just putting a little piece on each side. We don't worry about the bottom. That is in the design, you can do that, but we haven't found it really helps or detaches from the wood. So again, why add the extra weight? But this one on the top you really do need in order to be able to screw the roof down onto the wood pieces. Then it's time to go ahead and add the roofing. We are reusing as much of the old roofing as we can since we already had it cut. If you were to cut this from scratch, I would cut it a little bit longer than the original plans. Maybe just measure your actual roof, because ours was not quite long enough, so we had to squeak it in just there a little bit. It would have been easier if it were about 2 inches longer. So if you're going to start from scratch, just measure the actual before you cut the roof, and you should be fine. And then this is what the roof looks like when it's done. So here's the final chicken coop design with the new roofs on it. We do have one extra modification that I'm going to show you about here in the middle because our roofs were a little small. So let's zoom in and see that. So this is the back, and it does open up here, which was the main point so that we were able to get into the back. But we found that this, using the same dimensions, these ended up being a little bit too small, so I don't know how that happened. If we ever go to build another chicken tractor, we'll have to just measure before we cut. But there's a gap right here. There's a gap right here of about this far where there wasn't a roof. So we just stuck an extra roof panel on here to cover that hole so that the chickens can't get out and nothing can get in, including rain. This is the modified front roof, and it's very easy to open like this, get the food in and out. We can take it all the way off, but usually we just lift, take the food out, move it, put the food back in. No big deal. So thanks for coming along with us as we modify our chicken tractor. I hope this helps you, any of you who have the same problem we've been having with how to get your chickens out of this tractor. While you're waiting for our next video, I'll pop up a couple of our other videos here, including the chicken tractor original build, so that you can see how we did this if you missed that video. We will catch you soon.